Well, if you've been paying any attention to the headlines coming out of Houston, Texas in the last couple of weeks, you will be forgiven if you think you have stepped into the twilight zone. With me on the phone is Michael Kubosh. He is a city councilman for the city of Houston, Texas, and he is leading the charge against some goings-on coming out of the mayor's office, and we've reached him by phone. Hello, Mr. Kubosh.
It's just an embarrassment, and I'm very disgusted about it.
Councilor, you are a member of the city council in the city of Houston, right?
I'm a city councilman for the entire city of Houston. There's 5 of us that are at large. I'm one of the 5, and I have spoken out against this. I have spoken out from the very beginning of this. The whole process was wrong in passing the ordinance. I told the mayor that I would not let her get by with trying to say that this was about a black male trying to get into a club on Houston Avenue in Houston. I said, you're going to have to come out and say what it's really all about. And the pressure was on her so much that one day in council she said, it's really just about me, my personal life, and 2 gay men at the table.
Walk us back here a little bit. Go back in time with us, Councilor, and tell us how this all got started. Are we talking about an issue with bathrooms and unisex bathrooms, and she's trying to force that down the people's throat? Am I right?
Well, it's more than that. It's a gay agenda that she's been pushing,
right?
And part of it just got really out of control whenever she wanted to allow the people that were transitioning from one gender to another to be able to use the bathroom of their choice the way that they feel that day. And the citizens just said that it's enough. Well, we're tired of it. I don't believe in discriminating against anyone. I would certainly not discriminate against anybody who wants to use the restroom.
Right.
I would stand at the door and let you go in and watch the door if to protect you. I don't care what your gender is. Everybody has to use the restroom. That's not the issue. She's pushing an agenda that the people are not for. The citizens gathered together 55,000 petitions, turned them into the city. The city secretary, she counted 19,000, which was a margin of error of 2,000, which we had plenty. That they had plenty signatures, and then the city attorney intervened with the mayor and said that the signatures weren't collected properly. And even one of the sitting city council members, who's a district council member, his petition was thrown out. He said on city council.
So now we have this issue going on, and the people are outraged at it. She is an openly gay. We're talking about Anise Parker, and she's the mayor of Houston, and she is an openly gay female, and she recently married her partner in a wacky sort of ceremony there in California, right?
That's correct. And when after she got married to this lady, and her name is Kathy, and they came back to Houston, I was interviewed about it and asked me what I thought, and I think very plainly, I would hate to live my life without somebody to love me.
Right.
But I can't condemn anybody for wanting to be with somebody they love.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that it's God's plan for 2 people of the same gender to be married. However, I do believe that if I was ever single, and again, and my brother Randy is not married right now, I would expect that he and I would probably live together, but we're brothers, And I'm sure there are people that are family, are close to each other, but it's not a situation where you're lovers. You're just family, and you're close to each other.
Right.
I have 4 of us brothers, and I can understand how you need somebody in life.
Right.
But this idea of marriage is between a man and a woman. It's clear, and I can't deviate from that.
Right, and I appreciate you saying that, sir, and that is a sign of great integrity, obviously, and many people in your area there would likely agree with you, right?
Yes, sir. I'm sure that the majority will. But on the other hand, you have to remember, I'm a city councilman for everybody in the city of Houston.
Right.
There are a lot of transgender people and a lot of gay people in the city of Houston.
Right.
I represent them as well. I care for them. I'm not going to target them or be ugly or rude to them or be mean to them or think they should lose their jobs. Or I think that when you start being prejudiced and hating people, that's not of God. I believe that we are to be loving and concerned about people and supportive as much as we can. But on the other hand, they're not going to get me to endorse a lifestyle that's contrary to what I believe is scripturally sound.
Right, and wow, you know, your words are right on, and I appreciate the loving tone that you speak those words. But let's back this truck up a little bit more, Counselor. Is there a personal vendetta against you with respect to your involvement in her life in another issue? And we're going to get to there's a more pressing issue here that needs to be spoken about, and we'll get to that before we let you go. But does she have a personal vendetta against you with respect to the red light camera situation down there?
Well, you know, she was embarrassed by me a few years ago whenever I ran the light at Milam and Elgin in Houston to challenge the red light camera campaign that she was really promoting.
Right.
We eventually collected 55,000 petitions ourselves. We got the citizens to put it on the ballot. We had a vote, and the citizens voted overwhelmingly to get rid of the cameras.
Right.
And it upset her so much, she challenged it in court. And we took it to the Fifth Circuit, and all the way to the Supreme Court. We won. And then when it came back to Houston for a vote, the citizens, the city council at the time, voted the cameras out. Now, I wasn't on council at the time.
Right.
I am now. But
Okay.
that's one of the things that got me such notoriety in the city, that I'm an outsider. And I told the citizens, put me on the inside, and I'll tell you what's really going on at City Hall, because I'm not afraid of them people down there.
Thank you. And we're speaking with Michael Kubosh. He's a city council member with the city of Houston. Counselor, you're a lawyer, right?
No, my brother Paul is. I'm actually a surety. I own a surety company. But listen, here's the issue. I have a lot of knowledge about the law, obviously, but
Right.
Here's the issue. The mayor even passed a law before I got on council to keep the home from feeding hungry people. If you can't feed over 5 people, or you can be given a fine up to $2,000.
Right.
And so we collected about 32,000 signatures to put that on the ballot for a vote. I mean, where are we going in Houston whenever we're criminalizing the feeding of the hungry?
Thank
I
you.
had Christians, Jews, Muslims, I had atheists, I had all kind of people standing with me and saying, what is going on in Houston? They're penalizing the giver. They're not penalizing those that would get the gift of food, but we who want to give food. It's insanity to do such a thing. And she doesn't want to let it come to a vote even yet.
Now, would it make sense then to assume that because you were so, you were so instrumental in shutting down her red light camera campaign that now she wants to push the unisex bathrooms? I mean, let's be honest. We have men with man parts going into women's bathrooms, and vice versa. I mean, she wants to turn the bathrooms into unisex bathrooms, and she doesn't want to put that to a vote. Do you think that's because she's afraid it will fail?
Well, I'm sure it will fail,
Right.
because the people are overwhelmingly against it. Look, here's what I told her at council before we voted. Mayor, here's the real issue. The issue is the rights of a person who is transgendering from one gender to another before they have surgery. Is their right, does it supersede that of the rights of a woman in the restroom, bathroom place? And the answer is no. Because and so we just keep allowed this type of behavior to exist.
Well, and then these women have a reasonable right to privacy, right?
Do what, sir?
These women, they have a reasonable right to privacy, after all.
Well, of course, because women are much different than we are. And I asked the mayor. I said, Mayor, I talked to her privately. I said, can you explain to me why that a man has to go and have a surgery to remove his genitalia so that he can be turned into a woman, so he can be a lesbian? Well, I don't get it. Tell me why that is. Why does a man want to remove his private parts so he can be a lesbian? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right, and it does seem that the train has left the tracks on that whole issue, and that is another issue for another day. I want to jump into why actually we have you. I mean, this all sounds like a localized issue, And really, if people put their minds on it, they understand that this becomes a national issue because it becomes like a virus that spreads throughout the nation. But the reason we have you on today is because this has become a worldwide issue, because this mayor has now tried to subpoena the pastors to let her see and perhaps pre-approve their sermons. Is that what's going on down there?
She is wanting any sermon the subpoena said that had anything to do with mentioning her name, transgender, anything had to do with gay and lesbian, anything that had to do with this ordinance that she calls the hero ordinance, which is Houston Equal Rights Ordinance. Really, it's unbelievable that they would do that, and I have stood up against it, and I will continue to fight against it. And the ministers have said they will go to jail before they will give in to her wishes.
And there are 5 local pastors mentioned in the news. I don't have their names in front of me, and we don't need to mention those. People can just Google that for themselves. Now, so you're saying that they are resisting the subpoenas now?
Well, yes, but you got to remember, I know all 5 of these ministers,
right?
And one of them was Vietnamese. He's now a Baptist preacher. He was one of the boat people that came across. He escaped the communist regime and all of the communist dictatorship to come here to America to have his sermons now being scrutinized by the mayor of the city of Houston over this equal rights ordinance. It's a travesty.
Amazing. So he's very familiar with having to have government pre-approve free speech.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
And we cannot allow our free speech in our churches, the free speech in our communities be stifled by anyone, and this mayor is just out of control.
Well, I mean, religious speech is singled out for special protection under the First Amendment, right?
That's correct, and the First Amendment defends us to have our right to speak, and I will continue to stand up and to fight against anything that would block these ministers and from being able to preach the Word of God.
Well, before I ask you my final question, I know you're a very busy man, and I appreciate you taking the time out here. Now, these sermons that she wants to listen to and read would have some would detail anything to do with speaking out against homosexuality and so on. Does she not realize that the Bible is replete with statements that speak out against homosexuality? I mean, is she going to try and ban? Is she going to write her own Bible perhaps and say, okay, this is the Bible you have to use, which doesn't mention anything to do with homosexuality? I mean, what is her end goal here?
Well, you have to remember that many of them interpret it differently. You know, when you bring up Sodom and Gomorrah to these folks, they'll start telling you that really the sin wasn't the sin of homosexuality that caused Sodom and Gomorrah to be destroyed. I said, then tell me what it was. And they said, well, it was a sin of lack of hospitality. They didn't show proper hospitality. And I thought, my God, was it the angel's fault that this happened, or was it the people's fault? You know, I mean, it's so bizarre and so twisted. But I had to at least listen to their interpretation or misinterpretation of a clear passage of Scripture.
Well, and we just need to go back to the law of Moses, which demands that these sorts of activities be punished. You know, we don't condone going back to the law of Moses, but you know, Jesus clearly defined marriage as between a man and a woman when he said, "Or for this cause shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife." And you know, Jesus may have not said anything about homosexuality, but he didn't say anything about having sex with a lamppost either. I mean, he defined marriage between a man and a woman, and everything else is not marriage. But let's move on to the final question here. I know you're a busy man. We're speaking with Michael Kubosh. He is a city councilman for the city of Houston. There are reports now, Councilman, that the mayor of Houston, Anise Parker, she is being inundated with sermons from around the world. Pastors from as far away as Canada are sending her their sermons. Are you hearing anything about that?
Yes, I've heard that, and I'm getting. I can't say yet how many thousands of emails that have come in and calls and letters, people saying, you know, what's going on. Because see, when they look at city government, they don't realize that we have a strong mayoral city government. When they hear city of Houston doing this, they think it's the council included. But mostly, I would say a good percentage of the council members are opposed to all of this, and they did speak up last week about it. About 6 of them
Right. Well, listen, the whole issue is getting worldwide attention now. I do appreciate the time you've taken to speak with us here today. Wrap it up for us here. Do you want to put a bow on this for us?
Well, I'm Councilmember Michael Kubosh. I'm a city councilman in the city of Houston, and I support the ministers who have led the charge to get the petition and to challenge the mayor's equal rights ordinance that is really an unequal rights ordinance. And this subpoenaing of their sermons and communications is wrong. I've said publicly in council it's wrong. I've told the mayor to stand down, stop it, and it's wrong. And he still continues to do it.
Well, listen, Councilman, you have a lot of support from us here at PPSIMMONS Radio, and do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today, and much success to you moving forward, sir.
God bless you. Thank you for calling me. Continue to pray for us in council and pray for the city of Houston. We're good people here. We'll overcome this.
All right, you've been listening to PPSIMMONS Radio. My name is Mike Shoesmith. We'll talk to you next time.